Okay, guys, welcome back to Live Wire. Sorry about that. There was we had a little problem there with the stream. I don't know what the problem was, but we got it started. I'm Jared Moore. You may notice I'm wearing a new shirt. That's because there's new merch in our Mvskoke Market online store. There is a link to that in the description of this video. So after the video, if you want to go check it out, there's new stuff there to purchase. Today's program, we're having Laura Marshall Clark on the program. In 2019, she was the inaugural scholarly fellow at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. In 2020 through 2021, she was U.S. Fulbright Scholar, where she taught at the University College in Cork, Ireland, Native American literature. And we're having her she has a master's in Native American Studies from the University of Oklahoma. And we're having her on the program today because she is the curator of an exhibition that is showing at the Living Arts in Tulsa this month that is called Chief, Clans, and Kin. So with all that being said, thanks for being on the program, Ms. Clark. And could you kind of give us an idea of what the exhibition is and how the genesis of the idea for the exhibition happened?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jared. It's a privilege to be with y'all, and I'm happy to talk about it. The exhibition Chiefs, Clans, and Kin is a project that came out of my thesis work at the University of Oklahoma. I went back to school late in life to get my master's in Native American Studies, and I've been in Indigenous Fine Arts since 2005. And so a lot of my studies included a cross-section of, as they always do, history, government, tribal cultures, and indigenous arts and media. And one of the things that really captured my attention in my research and my thesis writing was the fact that in the 1700s, there was a very large influx of Scottish and Irish immigrants on the southern homelands of our 5 civilized tribes. And then at that time in the 1700s, they know there were, hundreds of tribes in the Southeast prior to removal. These Scottish and Irish and even Welsh immigrants were actually escaping British tyranny in Ireland and Scotland during that time period. For centuries, really, the British were colonizing those islands. They were stripping them of their culture, their religious practices, and their land, which was a very familiar story to us as we were being colonized by not only the British, but the French, the Spanish, a federal U.S. government, and even state governments in our southeastern homelands. So as they sailed to America, a lot settled in eastern cities, but others came south into, our sovereign regions. So the story goes, we intermarried, and this exhibition responds to those tribal members of the 5 civilized tribes who also have Celtic heritage. So they're not only enrolled citizens of our tribes, but they have ancestors who are Irish or Scottish and a few Welsh. And so we have 33 artists who responded to their own family heritage in this way, all with the exception of one. Have this heritage. Their ancestors are also Celtic along with indigenous. And the only exception is somebody who actually lived in Ireland for an extended period of time. And a lot of her artwork is related to not only her Choctaw heritage, but also her experience in Ireland. So I felt like it was very valid for her to be a participant in the exhibition. So that's how it all got started, and it's been in development since really 2019. We were hoping to actually take it to Ireland since I was selected as a Fulbright Scholar. However, COVID hit. So once that happened, everything in Ireland shut down. There were no museums or university settings or venues, galleries open to the public at all. So we had some really good conversations here in Oklahoma, and so now it's going to be in 2 venues in 2022.
So is this going to be a traveling exhibition, though? Is it going to travel around the United States, or is it just going to be here?
To date, it will only be in Oklahoma. We haven't talked with anybody else about taking it outside of Oklahoma. So we just opened May 6th at the Living Arts of Tulsa Gallery in the Arts District of Tulsa. And it will be on view from May 6th through June 19th of this year. And then it will move to the Choctaw Cultural Center and exhibit from July 23rd through December 31st of this year.
Okay, awesome. I wondered if you could touch on, and I don't know if this was, I know that you did some research on Celtic culture when you were in Ireland. Because there are also, to me, one of the things I find interesting about this exhibition too is that there are some symbols and types of symbols like knotwork and things that carry over between both cultures. Is that something that you studied or that you noticed when you were doing your research?
Yes, I did notice that they have a place in Ireland called Newgrange, and it's actually a mound. So here you have a cultural mound, thousands of years old, that is very similar to us as mound builders from the Mississippian culture period. And the iconography is in these symbols from these ancient mounds are very similar. So you have the spiral patterns, you have concentric circular patterns, and all this is carved in stone in Ireland. And of course, this is found in our shell carvings from our mound ancestors and from other, our pottery also, and other examples. So you do have those knot symbols. And so it was kind of really exciting to find these parallels in culture. And then, of course, tribal structures. They did have chiefs, Celtic chiefs, just like we had chiefs, or our Miko. They had clans that were very important to them, family clans, and of course us, our matrilineal clans that really set our social structures for us and were the vertebra, the backbone, the flesh and bone of our tribal systems. And also we use the word kin or kinships in the title because sometimes our allies weren't, or our kinships weren't always family. Sometimes they were political alliances. It might be, alliances for another reason. So as tribal people on both sides of a huge ocean, we had these very similar social structures. Of course, they were patriarchal and we're matrilineal, but nonetheless, and this is, I'll let you get to other questions, but this was really interesting discovery in my research about Mvskoke history and their cultural processes and ceremonies, is that if, let's say, a young man intermarried a Mvskoke tribal woman by ceremony, he was welcomed into the clan and became part of her clan. So even though, from the outside, somebody might see him as European, he was welcome and became a full member, a full Mvskoke tribal member. And their children weren't looked at as separate from other tribal children. In Mvskoke culture, the children were the same as the other Mvskoke children. European constructs that was how they're the ones that put it on us, full blood, mixed blood,
absolutely.
half blood terms, blood quantum. So that was really false science that came out of Europe.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
and
so
that is
was
a topic.
exciting to learn.
Yeah, and that's a topic too. We should probably do a whole separate show just on that, because that's something that I tell people all the time. Is once you go back and you read the history, or you learn about the history of how people became members of the tribes or the tribal towns or the clans, but in that early period of European contact, you see that there was a method for people to become incorporated, even from other tribes or Europeans or from wherever. Like we had those processes before the, 100 years, maybe hundreds of years before there was the invention of blood quantum. But what I wanted to ask you too was, are we going with the exhibition that's going on? Are we going to see in the exhibition any of these overlapping symbology that happens between the two cultures? Is that going to be part of the exhibition, or?
Yeah, well, once the exhibition is up, and as you walk through the artworks, you begin to see those symbols emerge. So, for instance, a Cherokee artist named America Meredith did an artwork after she visited Newgrange in Ireland. And it is a large stone. It is an imagery of a large stone that's actually present there at that site, at that mound site, with all kinds of symbols that were actually carved in the rock. And so she did an artwork of that. Then you take a Muskogee artist like Jimmy Carroll Fife Stewart. So a lot of people know her as Carol Fife. And she's a painter who painted it's a very large round circular panel, and it's called Vanished World. And it was a lot of our symbols, or our motifs, if you want to use that word, from mound builder culture. So you see very similar culture, very similar images in certain parts of her painting that you see from America Meredith's painting of Newgrange. So those become evident as you move throughout the exhibition, and not just symbols, but just what I would call cultural identifiers of our life ways. That same Muskogee artist, Jimmy Carroll, also did a beautiful painting called Two Worlds, Two Clans. And it's an image, just a view of three men walking away. And the center figure is a father. So he looks Celtic. He has on a kilt and a jacket and probably a hat that you would identify with Ireland or Scotland. And on either shoulder, on either side of him, are his two sons. And so you think about the clan of the father, but then the clans, the indigenous clans of the sons. And the sons are very much wearing clothing from the early 1800s that our Muskogee ancestors would have worn. So the leggings with the garters, and they also have on skirt-like apparel. And then they have, turbans, and they have sashes. And so it's very apparent that this is multi-generational, but there's so much similarity. So it's fun. It's fun to see what the artist came up with.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. The whole concept of it to me is interesting. And it's one of those things where when you see it, those connections, it's just kind of... for me, it kind of makes me feel like, there's some type of synchronicity or something happening, because a lot of it is very kind of like that not only you could see having two separate cultures evolve that have similar images or clan structures and things, but then to later in time have those two cultures, come together and form like what we have now is even, it makes me think about how those Europeans, like Scottish people, Irish people, came to the Americas, and when they met the the Creek people or the tribal town or that they would eventually marry into, like what was their reaction? You know what I mean? Like going like, whoa, you guys do this too, and you guys have this too, and if they had like jewelry or things that have the same type of symbols, that must have been a mind-blowing situation for them, both sides of that, to say like this guy's basically like an alien, but he has the symbols and things. So and I want to mention to the audience too, I want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, pop them into the chat. We'll try to get them answered. Actually, we just had a question pop up, so that's a good timing. I'm going to go ahead and read the question. Will any of the artwork make its way to a booth display at the Creek Nation Festival? It would be nice to be able to view some of the artwork in person.
I believe that the festival, do you remember the festival dates?
Yeah, it sounds like the exhibition is going to be over on, did you say June 4th? Or June?
No, June 19th.
June 19th. So the festival dates are the 23rd through the, I think it's the 26th is the Sunday?
Yes, that sounds right. I did, I was having a good discussion this week with someone at the Nation about festival, and I thought I remembered those dates. So actually, we can't bring them to the festival, and let me share why. After that exhibition ends in Tulsa, it's a process to get all the artwork packed up. We have nearly 70 pieces of artwork. So there's a lot of artwork that has to be carefully packed. And then it will be transported to the Choctaw Cultural Center in Calera. So that's kind of we have to follow a pretty strict process. And we are, I'm in contract with both facilities that it has to happen a certain way. So we hadn't planned on anything being at the festival this time. So it's a great idea.
Well, let me pitch you this idea while we're here, and this might solve both problems. What if we came up and did a little video about some of the pieces that are on display before the end of the exhibition, and then we could put it on our YouTube channel, because we also have a lot of citizens who watch our channel who are outside of the area, and they wouldn't be able to make it anyway. And if that's okay, I mean, I know that there are some situations with the artists where maybe the copyright to their work, they don't want it shown or whatever, but if you're game, I'm game to try to do it.
Actually, in this incidents, the artists have given us freedom to do any kind of publicity. So that would be a good idea. I'd like to invite you to come on a Saturday, June 18th. I don't know if you would do that on a weekend. Okay,
sure. No, I think we can do that, absolutely.
It would be a great time, because you might also be able to get some footage of a lecture that Dr. Hugh Foley is going to give that day. I don't know if you know Dr. Foley.
I'm not familiar with.
He's a professor he's in Claremore at the college there, and he's going to talk about work from a documentary that he and Sterling Harjo put together called "This May Be the Last Time." I don't know if you're familiar with that documentary, but it talks about the similarities in Mvskoke Creek hymn singing, Scottish Presbyterian line singing, and even African American churches in the South that had a similar sound to our Mvskoke Creek hymn singing. And also a hymn singer, Mr. Curtis Scott, will also be there, and he will do some singing for us. So it's really going to be a fun day, and we'll have a presentation. We'll have some Mvskoke hymn singing, and you might want to come that day.
Oh, for sure.
Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great event, and we could go through and get some shots of some of the pieces for the citizens who can't get either to the Choctaw showing or the Tulsa showing. They could still get an idea of some of the pieces that you were talking about and that are going to be on display. And then the that documentary has been out for a while. I think it's pretty popular.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a place that anybody could go to catch that streaming on the net or anywhere, but you guys aren't going to show the documentary. You're just going to have some performances, correct?
Well, actually, Dr. Foley's going to give a presentation. He's going to talk about it.
Okay.
He's just going to give, some of the historical and cultural context, and then talk about the Mvskoke hymns. And then Mr. Scott will do kind of a singing, do some singing for us.
Okay.
So it won't be the film itself, although I did, when I wanted to see the film, and this has been a couple of years ago, I did find it online. I had to purchase it, but the purchase price was very reasonable.
Okay. Well,
and so you can stream that.
I'll try to find that for you guys. I'm just talking to the audience. I'm going to try to find a link to that documentary online somewhere, and I'll try to post it in the information for this video maybe tomorrow if I can find it. So
thank you very much.
Well, it's been great to have you on the program. I really appreciate it, and the exhibition. I'm looking forward to seeing the work and hearing from the lectures and everybody at the event on the 18th. So, but between now, the exhibition is going on right now, right?
Yes, right now.
So if you are in the Tulsa area or anywhere you want to drive into the Tulsa area, downtown Tulsa area, it's at the Living Arts of Tulsa, and you can go check out that exhibition. Actually, we just had a question pop up just now. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and read it.
Okay.
We're getting close to the end of our time, but for our youth, what is the path they might need to explore to do the kind of work that you and those involved with the exhibition are doing? Educational, vocational, artists, etc.
I would say there's a few options, and I know we don't have much time, but number one, I would begin with people within the tribe that they might know that are artists and talk to them. Go to the Council House Museum, even the Five Civilized Tribes Museum when they have events in Mvskoke. There are some artists that are local, and begin conversations. Look for summer camps or academies that might be opportunities to develop in your art practice. Look at schools for when you graduate, like the University of Oklahoma that has a robust Native American Studies program, and you can, branch off into all kinds of areas of study within a larger department just like that. Or even, East Central University, or, even the Mvskoke College. There might be people there that could help guide you, help you look at schools that would, be great opportunities. And not to discount this, because this is super important, the IAIA school in Santa Fe, which is the Institute of American Indian Arts, is an exceptional school for training students in studio art or museum studies, creative writing. They even offer some master's programs. And so it is quite an exceptional institution and might be a really fun place for students to go.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the program. I'm going to email you some more in the future, because I want to do a program on what your research was and also those connections, just like we were talking about that historical period, because I think it's I don't know what the word I want to, I think more people need to know about that. I think it would change a lot of people's perception of the tribe, their own tribe themselves. So, with that being said, thanks so much for being on the program. I guess, before we wrap, if you like the new shirt, there's a link to our online store in the description of the video. Click it. There's a bunch of new merch, not just this shirt. There's some other shirts and some other items on there. So go check it out. And then go check out the exhibition, Chiefs, Clans, and Kin at the Living Arts Tulsa. And is there anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Clark?
Well, thank you for asking, and I'm just going to do a quick plug. My second exhibition that I'm really enjoying curating, and it's Mvskoke Creek artists that will happen this summer. So it's the Fife family. It's 3 generations of Fife women who are Mvskoke artists. Their daughters, it's called Matrilineals, Legacies of Our Mothers. So
awesome.
It's mothers and daughters. It's going to be in Santa Fe at the IAI Museum of Contemporary Native Arts, opening this summer, and maybe I can come back and talk about that sometime.
Oh, that would be great. You know, I think I'm probably related to one of the artists, if it's Sandy Fife Wilson.
Yes.
I'm related to her. She's my, let's see, I think she's my grandma-in-law, or I don't know how you put it, but
that's
my sister is married to her son.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But with that being said, thanks for coming on the program, and I don't see any more questions, and we're almost out of time here. So, but we'll have you on the program again in the future. It's a great talk to you,
Jared. Thank you for the invitation. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, guys, chit-chat, please.